We've got an exciting and informative episode lined up for you today, but before we dive in, let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered what those little square codes are that seem to be popping up everywhere nowadays? You know, the ones you can scan with your smartphone? Well, just the other day, we received a message on our website.
Ralph, I was at the grocery store the other day and I noticed a little advertisement with what looks like a UPC symbol on it. And it said to scan this for a special coupon. I went ahead and took a picture of this, and all of a sudden a website opened and was asking for my banking information to join some sort of coupon club. I asked my daughter about it when I got home, and she said it's a QR code or something and that everybody uses them, Mom. I just want to make sure I'm not going to get a virus or get my identity stolen, Ralph. Can you explain what these codes are and how to prevent them from causing problems for me? Keep up the good work. I'm really enjoying your show while I am walking in the morning, and God bless.
Well, today we're going to unravel the mystery behind those codes and discuss some of the scams that are unfortunately associated with them. So buckle up and get ready to learn all about QR codes.
Welcome to the Ask Ralph podcast. We're listening to an experienced financial professional with over 30 years of experience can help you make sense of confusing questions, current headlines, and industry trends about taxes, small business, financial decision-making, investment strategies, and even the art of proper budgeting. Ask Ralph makes the complex simple by sharing his real-world knowledge from a Christian perspective with all things financial. Now here's your host, Ralph Estep Jr.
Welcome back to another Technology Tuesday episode of the Ask Ralph podcast, where we dive into a technology question. Now you might be thinking, what exactly are QR codes, Ralph? Well, my friends, QR stands for Quick Response. And these codes are essentially two-dimensional barcodes that store information. They kind of look like a UPC symbol. They were first developed back in Japan in 1990 and have since gained widespread popularity around the world. You've seen them everywhere. You've seen them on product advertising, product packaging, business cards, and even restaurant menus. In fact, my son is a barber. He's got two of them on the back of his business card for people to leave tips on cash apps. But what can you do with them? And the more important question is, how can they potentially be used against you? Well, let's find out today. One of the most common uses of QR codes is to provide quick access to online content. You take a picture of the code, you scan the code, and it takes you to a website. For example, you might come across a QR code on a product and when scanned takes you directly to the product's website, where you can find more information or make a purchase. It is really a convenient way to bridge the gap between the physical and digital worlds. But here's where things can get a little tricky. And this is true of anything. Scammers and cyber criminals have found ways to exploit these QR codes for their nefarious purposes. Well, how do they do that, Ralph? Well, here's how they do it. They create counterfeit QR codes that, when scanned, lead unsuspecting individuals to malicious websites. Or even worse, they prompt you to download harmful software. These scams can result in identity theft. Like the lady talked about, that was her main concern. Financial loss. They were asking for her bank information. Or even compromise your personal information. This is just scary. So what do you do, Ralph? Well, it's crucial to stay vigilant and take precautions to protect yourself. So you might ask yourself, Ralph, what do I need to do to stay safe? I've got some actionable steps for you today. Step number 1, and this goes without saying, be cautious when scanning QR codes from unknown sources. In this particular case, this was in a grocery store. I'm assuming it was some kind of advertisement. Probably was pretty safe. I don't know exactly what she got to when she said it was asking for her banking information, but generally I would think that would be safe, but you have to pay attention. So if you receive a QR code from an unsolicited email, if you get one from email, be careful. Or a text message or a social media post, think twice before scanning it. It's always better to err on the side of caution and verify the source before proceeding. I mean, that's pretty simple, folks. If it doesn't make sense, then don't scan it. And when you scan it, if something weird pops up, delete it. Let's move on to step number 2. And that's check the destination URL before scanning a QR code. Well, you might ask, what is a URL? Well, that's basically the address you get to. So before you scan a QR code, take a moment to examine the website it leads to. For example, let's say you get a QR code and it's for Chase Bank. You scan that QR code and it says Chase Bank and Chase is spelt wrong. Well, guess what, folks? It's a pretty good sign that you got a scam thing going on there. So stop what you're doing right then and there. Look for any suspicious or unfamiliar domains. If something seems off, it's best to steer clear. I saw one of these in the past where it was an IRS fake email. And when you scan the QR code, it took you to irs.gov .something.gov, and it was obvious it was fake. So if it seems off, steer clear of it. Let's move on to step number 3. This one kind of goes without saying. Use a reputable QR code scanning app. There are many QR code scanning apps available. Not all of them are created equal. You need to stick to well-known ones and trusted apps that have positive reviews and high ratings. This will reduce the risk of falling victim to a scam. Here's the key, folks. Step number 4. Keep your smartphone software up to date. This is obviously the most important thing. Regularly update your smartphone's operating system and apps. It's essential in maintaining security. I have an iPhone. Apple is constantly putting out updates, and most of the time you'll look and see what's the reason for the update. Well, they found an exploit. They found an error. They found some sort of potential leak, some type of hack. So you need to stay up to date with those things, because the software companies, the telephone companies are going to update their software to include patches that will block these vulnerabilities that scammers may exploit. When it comes to identifying potentially malicious QR codes, it's important to be vigilant. Pay attention to what you're scanning and look for certain signs that indicate a potential scam. So you might ask, Ralph, what are those potential signs? Well, I've assembled a list. The first one, unfamiliar source. If you receive a QR code from an unknown or unsolicited source, run away. Or as I'll say, exercise caution at least. Scammers often use phishing emails, fake text messages, or social media posts to distribute these malicious QR codes. Listen, their goal is to get you to click on this code so they can exploit you. So be wary where these codes come from. If you don't recognize them, don't click on them. Don't trust them. Second thing you can be aware of for red flags, poor placement. Pay attention to where the QR code is displayed. If it's placed haphazardly, such as a random flyer or sticker without any clear connection to a legitimate business or organization, it raises suspicion. Here's a great example of this. If you come into my tax and accounting practice, I've got a couple of things up that have QR codes on them. And it says, if you'd like to connect to our Wi-Fi, take a picture of this QR code and we'll connect to our Wi-Fi. That's legitimate. People are coming in, they know me, they know our business, they know we're not trying to scam them. Genuine QR codes are usually associated with official branding or marketing materials. They're legitimate when you click on it. For example, let's say you're buying cookies at the store and there's a QR code on the back of that Nabisco cookie box. When you click on that QR code, it takes you to a website that is from Nabisco. You see pictures of the cookies on there. Pretty good bet that that's safe. Another thing you want to look for, and I talked about this a little while ago, is misspellings or distortions. Malicious QR codes may contain misspelled words, distorted images, or other visual irregularities. Here's the thing. Scammers try to replicate legitimate QR codes and make subtle changes to deceive unsuspecting individuals. So look at the code. Does it look like it's been monkeyed with? Look at it carefully. Compare it to the QR codes you're familiar with. If it looks funny, don't click on it. And number 4, this goes with a lot of things. Watch out for too good to be true offers. Be cautious of the QR codes that promise unbelievable rewards, discounts, or prizes. You got to be on the lookout for these things anyway, folks. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Scammers use enticing offers to lure people into scanning these codes. If the deal seems too good to be true, it's a ploy. It's fake. They're trying to scam you. Run the other direction. You don't want to scan one of these QR codes and end up getting your device infected with malware. Another thing to be on the lookout for is unauthorized redirection. Before scanning a QR code, look closely at the destination URL it leads to. Once you've scanned it, look at where it takes you. If the website appears suspicious, contains random strings of characters, or doesn't match the expected destination, refrain from scanning the code. Scammers use the QR codes to redirect users to malicious websites designed to steal your information. That's the scammer's goal, to take your information and to use it, as I said before, in a nefarious way. So if when you scan it, it takes you to a website and there's misspelled numbers, there's misspelled words, there's all kinds of weird things on there, it's probably fake. Here's another big one. Watch out for this one, and that is permission requests. Some malicious QR codes may prompt you to grant excessive permissions or download unknown applications. Don't ever do that. Be cautious if the code asks for access to personal data. Like in this lady's case, she said it was asking for her banking information. Hold the door. Don't go there. See if it's asking for access to your camera, your contacts, or sensitive information. In general, legitimate QR codes don't ask for such things. And they're just pointing you in a direction of giving you some information. They're not trying to get you to download software. Now, that said, there are some QR codes that are used to download an app or something like that. So you got to pay attention to what you're looking at. Another thing you can look for is a lack of encryption or security measures. Legitimate QR codes often have built-in security measures, such as an encryption or verification message to ensure authenticity of the code. If your QR code lacks these security features or appears to be a simple image without any additional layers of protection, it could be a sign of a potential scam. Remember, these signs are not definitive proof of a malicious QR code, but they're warning signs. They're saying to you, exercise or proceed with caution. If you have any doubts about the legitimacy of a QR code, it's best to err on the side of caution and just don't do it. Now, before we wrap up, I want to remind our listeners to visit our podcast page at AskRalphPodcast.com. As I say all the time, you can leave us a review, share your thoughts, or even send us a message like this lady did today with questions for future episodes. While you're there, make sure you join our email list. As I've said before, we're running a special right now where every week we're doing a drawing for a $25 Amazon gift card. So sign up yourself, tell others about it, get them to sign up too. You also can schedule a consultation there, buy one of my books. If you go to AskRalphPodcast.com/store, you can see the books I have for sale, like one of which is Mastering Your Finances. The other one is Gospel of Entrepreneurship, if you want to find out ways to take your faith into your business. And another quick reminder, we're also starting a question a month, and we encourage you to leave a voicemail message on the podcast site by clicking on the microphone at the bottom right corner. This month's question is this: what do you find is the most difficult part of creating and living by a budget? That's our question. And we need your answers by March 1st. And we'll discuss the answers on the show in March, so don't forget to leave your answers. Well, my friends, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've demystified QR codes. I hope at least I've done that. We've explored their practical uses and shed some light on the scams associated with them. I hope you find this information valuable. I hope it empowers you to navigate the digital landscape with confidence. Remember this: financial literacy is key. And with God's guidance, we can master our finances and live abundantly. Well, thank you for listening. God bless you. And as I always say, stay financially savvy, folks.
Thank you for joining us on the Ask Ralph podcast. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. And remember, financial issues don't have to be complicated. Just ask Ralph. The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media, Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.